Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Today we will talk about cactus farms and also how to turn cactus into XP using the efficient kelp farm that we designed last time. So about cactus farms, they are pretty old and have been used in Minecraft for like years and years and years. And there have been thousands of designs, some more efficient than others. Luckily for me, Ilmango already did a video about cactus farms 5 years ago where he compares all the ways to farm cactus and came up with this design which was the best at the time. And he already included in his video most of the numbers that I need to compare the farms. You should definitely check out that video where he covers a lot of the cactus mechanics, which I won't go over in this video. He made that video 5 years ago, but it's still pretty accurate because cactus mechanics haven't changed since then. However, we now have new blocks added to the game that we could maybe use to compact this a bit more. And that's why I attempted over there. I'll get there in a bit. So Ilmango's design uses end rod and fences and cobble walls. And this might seem a bit weird, and also we can think that there is space that is lost here in place of this cobble wall. But we'll see that it's not actually. This cobble wall is very important and we can't place cactus there. The reason for that is because even if we add a new cactus there, items from this cactus might have a chance to jump and hit the cactus that we put here. That's why the wall is there. It's basically all the items that jump in diagonal will hit the wall and fall down and not fall on this cactus, for instance. That would be on the trajectory otherwise. Also, this fence is here to break the cactus because cactus cannot grow next to a fence. I can place this cactus here. I can place it, but it can still grow naturally, and when it grows, it will instantly realize, like the one just behind, it will instantly realize that the block is obstructed by fence gates and will pop itself out. The main issue with cactus farms is the item, when it pops, it jumps in a random direction. And most of the time it will jump in one of the direction around it, which we will catch with this fence gate, or this wall there, or this other fence. But there is a chance that the item will shoot up and get destroyed by itself. But there's nothing we can do about that. But what we can do is minimize the amount of cactus that is lost to jumping on his neighbors, without compromising too much cactus growth space. The way Ilmango did that is with these walls, and these end rods here are very important because, as you can see, kelp doesn't pop next to these. It would with a fence, sorry. And the important bit is that the end rod is the same width as the fence gate. You can see right here when I get close, the outline of it is exactly the same, pixel perfect. This is important because if the end rod was wider than the fence, then when an item jumps and hit the fence, it would fall and get stuck here. That's why we need to have something that has the same width. And it also cannot be smaller, because if it was smaller, then an item that jumped with less height could hit this, fall, and then get stuck on the fence. So basically, all these columns here and there needs to have the same width. The cobble wall is bigger than the fence gate, but it doesn't matter because it's all cobble walls, and here it's all fence gates or inner rods. So I was looking at this design, wondering if I could improve it. And one of the things that I realized is this doesn't need to be an end rod, but if we replace it by a fence gate, it attaches and creates the issue I was mentioning before, where an item could simply get stuck there. Most cactuses that would jump and hit the fence or the end rod would just fall and sit on this fence. So while we can replace the end rod here with a fence to make it less expensive, we can replace it with a lightning rod, which is a new addition which has exactly the same size as the end rod, but we can't completely eliminate the end rods because the lightning rod would pop up cactus. So this farm is basically the same as Ilmango's, but just cheaper because end rods are quite expensive in my opinion. It's a chorus fruit and a blaze rod. However, copper rods are just some copper, which is quite easy to obtain. Over here, we have an attempt at removing the cobble walls to add more cactuses, hopefully to increase the rates of the farm, which I think is the design that most people used to do, having this diagonal line of cactuses. It turns out that this is actually less efficient than this one, because yes, we have more cactus, but we have also more losses. Now, from each cactus, the only items we can get is the one that fly straight through, here or there or there or there. But if an item is slightly off, it will hit this cactus. All these angles now lead to that cactus. So yes, we're getting more cactus per hour created, but we really impede the number of cactus that actually make it all the way down, which is the actual cactus that we get. So this is not good. I have numbers to prove all this. Ilmango also has some numbers, which I actually got different numbers, but I think he just basically rounded them up. So looking at Ilmango's numbers, he has something he calls efficiency, which is not space efficiency, but is also very important, so I added on my boards. He calls it efficiency, and basically it measures the number of cactus that are not lost by this farm. So this farm only loses 5% of the cactuses. Note that this percentage excludes the number of cactus that fall onto themselves. This is only the total number of cactus that are actually harvestable, so ignoring the ones that would just fall down. So to calculate this percentage of the total number of cactus that are actually harvestable, he did an extensive test to calculate the theoretical maximum of cactus that we can get from one single plant per hour. He got that number to about 2.39 cactus per hour per plant, and this is the number that excludes the cactus that fall onto themselves. So looking at some numbers, the original design from Ilmango has a 14% space efficiency, which is almost his number over there, and during my testing I got 93% efficiency instead of 95%, and that's the numbers after 26 hours of tick warp. I think he mentioned he did 100 hours of tick warp, but it takes quite a long time for me to run that, so I'm limiting myself to 26 hours. So in the end we have a farm that is not very space efficient, but harvests almost all the cactus that is produced. Now that we've seen the numbers for Ilmango's design, let's look at the numbers for the crossed one. And here we can see how bad this design is. Yes, we do increase the block efficiency, which is the number of cactus that we have in the area. We double that basically, but we lose a lot of space efficiency and we only catch about 30% of the cactus that do grow and should be harvestable. We increase the percentage of losses by about 50%, even more than 50%. So this design is really bad. Over here we have a few attempts at me trying to see if powder snow, which is a new block, could be used into reducing the momentum of the cactus. And I tried different setups. I try also the one with the diagonal, see if maybe the powder snow would prevent this to be bad, and it doesn't, by the way. Over here I tried something different with another cactus here in place of the cobble wall again, but offset by a bit instead of being on the same layer. The issue here is that the powder snow here catch items that would flow from here to there, and when the item collides with the powder snow, the item would fall on this cactus and die. So basically the powder snow here catches items flying through here that touches this corner, and they would fall back onto the same cactus. So basically the powder snow is making more losses, so not good. I think powder snow might be interesting. I just couldn't find a way to make it work, but you could try. All these designs have bad rates, to the exception of this one, which is almost the same rates as the one with the end rod instead of the powder snow, except this one is like slightly bad because there's a small chance for item to fall through the powder snow and end up on this fence. Even if I thought that they would be aligned against this one and won't be able to fall on the fence, it sometimes happens. So none of these four designs are viable. Over here we have another attempt where I tried to encase basically the cactus to always fall down, and this makes sure that the cactus cannot jump the gap and go on the neighbor. But the disadvantage of this is that the fence, while preventing the cactus to jump across, will make it fall on the fence that is below it, and I facing a different direction, and the items will stay stuck there basically. So this farm has really poor rates, but it still beats that design over there with the diagonal cactuses. So this farm is really the worst. Really don't build that one. This one is slightly better, but it's still awful. Don't build this. And these ones are between that one and the good ones. However, over here we have my last attempt that actually is better than Ilmango's design. And this is all thanks to the new lightning rod. Basically, the reason that Ilmango couldn't have cactus here is because he needed the wall to prevent cactus from jumping diagonally. And I'm currently using a full block instead of a wall, and it has the same effect of preventing the item to jump across. But it has the unwanted side effect of allowing the item to slide against the block and fall on the cactus and die there. So you might think, why is this better? Well, there is only a few trajectories that allow that. If the item has a different one, it will get stuck and fall down, which is what we want. And this allowed me to increase the number of cactus, basically doubling the amount of cactus that we have in the farm. On this farm, we also doubled the number of cactus, but we almost tripled the loss, which means that adding new cactus is actually hurting us. Here, we doubled the amount of cactus, but we don't increase the amount of losses so much, which is why it's better than all the others design. The reason Ilmango couldn't come up with this design is because he would need something like the lightning rod, which break cactuses, has the same size as an end rod, because the end rod doesn't break cactuses, and doesn't connect to the sides. And we can use the Minecraft block property encyclopedia for this. So here we have, for instance, alternatives to the end rod. All the blocks that have a collision, so would prevent items from falling, but doesn't obstruct cactus. But we can quickly see that that list is pretty small, and basically only the end rods as a shape that would help us. All the other ones are not full blocks that go all the way from the bottom to the top. Ladders doesn't work, lily pad is only the surface. Chaos floor is too big, would prevent the items from falling. Scaffolding only blocks from the top and is also a full block, so it doesn't help us. So as you can see, end rod is the only one that would help us in our situation. And if we try to replace the lightning rod, so we need the block that has a collision to keep the items, but also obstruct cactus. So we have all the full blocks, obviously. We have anvil, doesn't work for us. Bamboo also doesn't. All the full blocks. Bell, which look like it might help us, but actually has a weird hitbox and items can get stuck on it, so it's not good. More blocks. Cake or brewing song don't help us either. Chain could help us, but I'll show you quickly. Chain is too small actually. And we have fence gate, fences that we are already using, glass panes that are also too small, iron bars that are also too small, all lightning rod, and that's about it. All the other ones are full blocks. So let's verify all that. If I place a chain, you can see that it's even so smaller than the actual size that we need, which means that items can get stuck here because of this difference in size. Also, glass panes are actually even smaller than a chain. They are the same size as iron bars, but the issue is that both of them connect to nearby blocks, and both of them pop the cactuses. So chain, glass pane, and iron bars break the cactuses. Also, glass pane and iron bars both connect to the walls, so we can't really use them anyways. Basically what we need here is two different blocks that have the exact same hitbox to prevent items to being stuck between them. One of them needs to not break the cactuses, and the other one needs to not connect to walls. And right now in the game, the only pair of blocks that we have that have these properties in common is the end rod and the lightning rod. There might be a different way to do this farm that is maybe even more efficient. If you know of a more efficient way, please tell me down in the comments. I would really like to know. So with all this, we managed to get almost 20% space efficiency, which is better than all the farms, even Ilmango's one, even though we have only a 70% efficiency of the cactus. So we are losing more cactus than Ilmango's design, but since we doubled the number of cactuses in our farm, we end up with a better space efficiency, which means that we managed to produce more cactus in a smaller space, which is what we're looking for. So if you ever need to build a huge cactus farm to produce 37,000 cactus per hour, by using my design instead, you can almost remove a third of this farm and get the same rates. This is why space efficiency is important, not just the rates and not even the actual efficiency. The space efficiency is what matters. Okay, so now that we saw the different ways to farm cactus and which one is the most efficient, let's look at what we can do with our cactus. So what we have here is a slice of Ilmango's farm, because it was the easiest to copy and paste for me. But you can replace this with any cactus farm. You should replace it with the efficient one it's over there. And this is the efficient kelp farm that we designed last time. And when you put the two together, what you get is a Cactus XP farm and also some free fuel. The way it works is pretty simple. Over here, the kelp from the farm is being funneled into this hopper, which is then put into this minecart hopper that distributes it along these smokers. The smokers then dry the kelp into dried kelp, which this minecart will come and harvest and feed it into this crafter to craft the kelp blocks automatically. The kelp blocks then make their way into this chest for this minecart hopper to distribute back into the smokers, so we can keep smelting kelp over and over again. Then the other half of this chest is split and fed into this minecart here to fuel other furnaces in which we cook the cactus into green dye. And all we have to do to take the XP is just come here and remove the dye. The cactus comes directly from the farm and is fed into this minecart hopper, which feeds the furnaces. The green dye is currently thrown out and destroyed on this cactus because I don't need it, but you can collect it if you want to. This system is quite simple and has a lot of nice features, but you don't have to use this exact setup to get your XP. Just a quick disclaimer, this system is a very functional proof of concept, but it can probably be improved. It did not go through many iterations compared to the systems I usually showcase, so it is not as polished. If you know of a better system, please let me know. And if you don't worry about it. You can use it. It works just fine. I haven't found any issues with it. For instance, I'm heavily relying on minecarts for the distribution and collection of the resources, and I had to build these smart loading and unloading stations, and you can just scrap all that and put a line of hoppers if you want, and it will work just the same. You can obviously add more smokers, furnaces, more crafters if you need to, but I'll cover in a bit that the scaling of the furnaces and smokers is not that easy. You have to think about it before doing it. But doing it does increase the amount of XP that you get at the end. So, let's test it out, shall we? I'm gonna reset the XP in all the furnaces, and we're gonna let it run for 2 hours and see how much XP we get. Let's go! And done! So after 2 hours, let's see how much XP did we get. Wow, level 22 from the first furnace. And that's the last one. Level 73 in just 2 hours. And I only took the XP of the cactuses. There's also XP stored in the smokers. I'm just not gonna take it because I didn't clear them. So these are like full. I've been running for days and days. So it's gonna be a crazy amount in it. But all that we need to remember is that Cactus gives 10 times more XP than Kelp, but smokers smell twice as fast as regular furnaces. So in the end, for each XP point that we have in these furnaces, we have 5 times more in these ones. So these ones are like 5 times less XP than these ones. Even though it's 5 times less, it's still not negligible. It's still a lot of XP that will accumulate over time. And if you forget about them and let them accumulate XP, the day you come to get it back, it will give you a lot of XP because it would have accumulated for a long time. Level 72 in just 2 hours, probably level 100 in 3 hours. Maybe less. This gives a lot of XP. And the good thing is that you don't have to take all the furnaces at once. You can let all this run for the night and in the morning just take from one furnace. If you let it run for a full night, it's going to be like what, 8 hours, 10 hours? You will have a lot of XP in this furnace, but in all of them you will have a lot of XP. And if you take this one but let the others, well, you don't have to wait a full 10 hours again to get the same amount of XP. You just use all the XP in this furnace, you do whatever you want with it, and then when you need more XP, you can just come back and you still have 20 more furnaces with the same amount of XP. And remember one thing, all the numbers I gave you and also the 72 XP levels in 2 hours of AFK is only with this size of a kelp farm and this size of cactus farm. If you double the size of this, you can double the size of that and get double the XP. And you can triple that or quadruple it. Let me quickly show you the different features that we have here. We have this smart loader system that will fill the cart until it is full before sending it on his way. Yes, the cart will not entirely empty before it comes back to the station, but this basically gives you an extra buffer and it doesn't take too long to get filled up. The system works by checking if there is leftover item in this chest that this cart cannot extract fast enough. As you can see, the comparator doesn't have time to update when items are flowing super fast in the chest, and only does that if the item stays for roughly 3 ticks, and minecart pulls item every 1 tick. So the minecart will pull items before the comparator has time to react. So if there is an item that the comparator can detect, it means the minecart has stopped pulling items. Whenever that happens, we just power this to send the minecart on his way. We also lock the hoppers so items don't accumulate in this chest. So whenever the cart come back, we can instantly go back to 0 and turn off the comparators. I added the buffer over here. I already explained why. You can add more buffer if you want. And it's important to use a chest because we use 2 hoppers to fill this chest faster, so the cart doesn't stay here for too long. If you add more smokers, you might want to use multiple carts or a different system altogether. Over here we have a very simple crafter setup where we measure the strength of the crafter, and only if the strength of the crafter is equal to 9, which means that all 9 slots have been filled, only then is this comparator allowed to output a signal that will simply go and power the crafter. And since it takes a while for the crafter to fill up again, the comparator has all the time to turn off. The minecart hopper deposits the dry kelp with a simple minecart unloader. I think you've seen this one plenty of times. It's the standard design. Over here we have a smart system that ensures that this chest always have the first 3 rows filled before kelp is allowed to flow into this chest. This is to ensure we always have fuel for the furnace array. You can also choose a different level of filling. I just took halfway through, which is 27 stacks, which gives out a signal of 8. And all I have to do on this side is just use this comparator compared to a signal of 8, and only if it's 8 or more will the comparator be able to send out a signal to turn off this torch to unlock the hopper. So this is quite simple, and like I said, you can tweak it lower or higher if you want to. Over here we have the exact same system than for the kelp over there, simply orientated differently. Over here this is the cactus with the green dye, and it's simply same minecart unloader than for the dry kelp, and we just put it into a dropper that is constantly being ticked while it has items into him. And I just destroy them, but like I said, you can collect them if you want. And over here I added a simple lever that we can pull in order to ensure the cart stays here even when it's empty. So this gives us the ability to take our time and wait for the green dye to be ready and take it out to get the XP. Otherwise the cart might just come and steal the green dye before we have a chance to harvest the XP. So this allows you to stop the cart while you harvest the XP. And that's all the features of this little system over here. Like I said, quite simple. I encourage you to design your own if you want to. If you don't want to, you can just use this one. It works pretty well. So, like I said, you can size the furnaces however you want. And you can't also size the farms however you want. All of them have to be scaled together because they work as a whole. If you build too big of a kelp farm, it's not so bad because you're just gonna have some extra kelp and you can use that to feed into another smelter. But if you don't use it, well, it's gonna get wasted. Same with the cactus farm. If it's too big, well, you're generating more cactus, but you're not gonna be able to handle it all, so most of it's gonna get wasted. But if you want more XP at the end, you obviously have to scale both farms up, but you have to do it together. You cannot just scale one farm, you have to do both of them together. Just a small note, if you use a single kelp farm to cook the cactus and cook other things as well, then yes, it is acceptable to have a bigger kelp farm and a smaller cactus farm. However, for the sizes of the furnace, you have to be very careful. If you build a furnace ahead that is too small compared to the size of the farm, well, you're gonna waste your kelp because the farm is gonna produce so much kelp that won't be able to get smelt in time and it will just despawn there. However, if the furnace is too big, then this has dire consequences. If the furnaces consume more kelp that is produced by the farm, then this slot is gonna get empty at some point, and what will happen is that the kelp block will keep burning, but nothing will get actually smelted into dried kelp. And you can get to a point where you end up cooking less dried kelp than it takes to make a kelp block. And if that happens, the whole thing will stop working because the smokers won't be able to dry new kelp if they run out of fuel. To prevent that, make sure you produce at least a bit more kelp that you actually need in the smokers to ensure that they will never run out. And also, you can build a small buffer like here. As you can see, it's slowly filling up. That will protect you in case the farm is unloaded out of random tick range, but the furnaces still are loaded somehow. For instance, if you walk a bit at the edge of your base, the farm could end up in such a state. And the smokers will, in that situation, if you have a buffer, the smokers can keep working at full speed, draining the buffer, and when you come back in range for the random tick speed, the farm will kick up again and will refill that buffer for the next time this situation occurs. As long as you produce an excess of kelp, even if this buffer runs out because you've been at the edge of the farm for a very, very long time and all the kelp is gone and has been dried, the farm will simply kick back up again and go back to working full speed whenever you come back in range. It will take some time for the smokers to build up again, up to 64 in all the slots, but it will happen automatically, you don't have to do anything. So as long as you produce an excess of kelp, this will never break. For the cactuses over here, it's less important because if you run out of cactus, well, the farm won't break, you'll just lose efficiency. You'll use more dried kelp and get less XP out of it. So I would also recommend to have like a slight excess, and it's completely fine to leave it here despawn because it's only like 1 or 2 stacks. If you really want, you can just put a flame here and like burn the excess. Same for the kelp. So, how do you make sure that you have the right size of smoker array, furnace array, kelp farm and cactus farm? Well, you have to do some math, but it's quite simple, don't worry. All you have to do is know how much kelp you produce. For instance, this specific size of my kelp farm produces 7,000 kelp per hour. Since a smoker takes 5 seconds to smelt an item, a smoker smells 720 items per hour. So if I use 9 smokers, I can smelt 6,480 items per hour. Note that I smelt less kelp than I actually produce because, like I said, you need to have excess in order to protect the system. However, my excess is quite a bit, it's almost 500 kelp. You can obviously aim to make it smaller by simply increasing the farm and try to add another smoker, or reducing the farm a bit to get closer to the 6,500. It's up to you how you do it. I would still recommend to keep a small excess, just to be sure that the smokers never run out, because if they do, the farm stops and you have to come back and add fuel manually for it to start again. Just make sure you have excess, so this never happens. So now that we know how much kelp we dry per hour, if we convert that into dried kelp block, it's 720 kelp blocks per hour. But since we also use the dried kelp blocks to dry the kelp, we also need to take that in account. So a dried kelp block smells 20 items, which means to produce the 6,480 dried kelp, we use 324 dry kelp block. So our net gain is roughly 400 dry kelp block, which means these smokers are using 324 dry kelp block per hour, and we get roughly 400 free kelp blocks in that chest per hour. And with that much kelp block, we can smelt 20 items per kelp block, so almost 8,000 items per hour that we can smelt, in addition to the 7,000 kelp we are already smelting here. And I find amazing that with a farm that produces 7,000 kelp per hour, I can smelt this plus that, which is about 14,000 items per hour. So for each kelp I produce, I smelt 2 items. I find that amazing. So this was for the kelp, but now we actually need to transform our cactus into XP. So we can't use smokers to dry the cactus. They don't fit in this. They need regular furnaces. and regular furnaces are twice as slow as the smokers, so they take 10 seconds to smelt an item, which means they only do 360 items per hour. And if we were to use 20 furnaces, we would be able to smelt 7,200 items per hour, which we have more than enough capacity to smelt with our leftover Kelp Blocks. We can smelt 720 items more, so we could add 2 more furnaces if we really want to. However, once again, I think having excess is good, because it will build a buffer over here, and you can even use it to fuel other things like a super smelter, for instance. So, by smelting damage cactus per hour, we have to note that 1 cactus is equal to 1 XP. So for each cactus that we smelt, we gain 1 XP point. In an hour, a furnace is going to smelt 360 items, which is going to give 360 XP, which is equivalent to the amount of XP you need to go from level 0 all the way to level 16. But that is only if you harvest a single furnace. If you harvest all the furnaces, you get enough XP to go from level 0 to level 56. And this is only after 1 hour of AFK. If you AFK for 2 hours, you can go from level 0 to about level 72 by taking the XP of all the furnaces. And this is just the XP you get with the cactus. You also have XP that's going to accumulate in the smokers with the kelp. And this is quite good if you ask me, considering that we're not doing anything once we build this farm. We can do whatever we want. We just have to be close enough to it so that it keeps working. And after a few days playing, you come back and within a single furnace you'll have enough XP for whatever you want. Also, a byproduct of this farm is the green dye that I'm currently throwing out because I don't need it. But what you can do is convert it to emeralds. So the shepherd's villager that you need a loom to create, at the expert level, the emerald one, they have a chance of selling 12 dye for an emerald. So if you want to, this farm can also double as an emerald farm. And you also get XP while trading with the villager. However, it's not so easy to get the villager you want, because you have first to level him up all the way up to expert, and then you have to have the luck for him to have the dye exchange, and it has to be the right color of dye. And since there is 16 dye in the game, well, you need to be kind of lucky to get him. It took me 32 villagers to get the right villager. So it's a bit of a pain, but you can definitely do it if you want to. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something. If you did, please consider subscribing or leaving a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!